Hello. Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing well today. I forgot to turn my microphone on when recording this intro, so here we are. In this video, I am going to be showing you how to make these mushroom sculptures on these saucers, meant to be like a ring holder dish or just a decorational piece. This video is outside, so there's going to be a lot of background noise. Maybe some of these noises are not going to be super relaxing, but bear with me. So these saucers, they often get donated to the thrift store without their teacups, and they'll end up sitting there for a really long time or not getting picked up by people at all because they're just not super useful anymore. So we're going to attempt to make them into useful objects again. And some of you may be wondering why I haven't been doing as many videos, and it's because I have a big event coming up, and I've been desperately trying to make art for that event. So thank you for joining me, and we are going to get to it. Okay, so what I have gone and done is created a little base out of tinfoil for my mushrooms because it doesn't really support its own weight. It needs a base if you're going to create something vertical like these. And I like to use tinfoil because you can shape it into pretty much whatever you want. Just make sure that you compact it really good so that the structure is sound afterwards. And I have mixed together my apoxie sculpt part A and part B. I do go into more depth about it in previous crafting videos if you want to check those out. But it's pretty easy. Combine equal parts, mix it up really good. And wear gloves because that's what it says, and you should always follow the instructions, okay? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start covering our bases. Just taking a little piece and flattening it out a bit, and then covering my mushroom like a blanket, and then you have to kind of smooth it out. And I like to just do this with my hands. You can use a tool if you want to, whatever way is easier for you. And then to do underneath here, I'm going to do the same thing, but with a skinnier piece. I live in a pretty central area, so there's a lot of commotion going on. But it's finally nice out, and I really need to go outside more. Okay, so I missed a few little spots there, so we're just gonna fill those in. So that bit I am going to use a tool to smooth out. Alright, that is the underside. Now we're going to do the top. And I'm just kind of sandwiching this layer with the bottom layer. Make sure it's good and sealed up and I don't have any foil poking through. There's a little bit. Just kind of pinching it together. Like making a pierogi. Okay. That looks pretty good. So we're going to detail this as well, add more to it. But that's the basics of the base. And I'm going to go ahead and add clay to the other two that I made. Okay, so I have all of my bases covered and I'm ready to start detailing these. Now I think I'm going to start doing the gills underneath. And for that, I'm just going to use this tool. I'm just going to press down and start making those gills. So that is the start of it, but they're not quite as deep or as detailed as I would like them to be. So I'm going to go in with this cutting tool here, the little X-Acto, and I'm just going to make them a bit deeper. More pronounced. So with this hand, I am holding it, but I am trying to hold it as lightly as possible so that I don't squish any of the details that I just put in. If you do squish them a little bit, it's fine though. When I came out earlier and started the setup, I thought, oh, at least they're not hammering things today, but then as soon as I sat down, I started. That's okay though. I knew that being outside, there was going to be some noise. Not like, I don't know, when I'm inside and I'm doing a video, I find it quite frustrating if there's a loud noise in the background. I picture myself running outside one day and being in my banana suit and yelling at whatever the noise is. And it's a funny picture in my mind. Okay, that's the general idea of that. I'm gonna finish the other ones off camera. Okay, so now all my mushrooms have their gills, and I have started to texturize the caps a little bit. And what these textures are going to be after I paint them are the little white spots on the mushrooms. Now, that isn't a necessary step. You could just paint the little spots on after you're done, which I've done many times in the past. But I think the added texture is just a nice touch. What I'm doing here is just separating where the cap is from the gills a little bit. This is also an unnecessary step if you don't want to do this. Okay, so let's start doing our little textures up top here. What I'm just doing is I'm kind of just scraping back a little bit of the clay, kind of just messing it up a little bit. The more random you can do this, the better. Because if they look too uniform, that's not really very natural looking. But I mean, it's your project. You can make it any way you want to. Okay, that one is now texturized. And what we will do next is we will add some details to the stems. So I'm going to just place that upside down. Some of my details might get smushed a little bit, but no big deal. Mushrooms aren't perfect. Sometimes they look a little smushed anyways. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is just add another layer to the bottom. I think I've seen them before with like this bulbousy bit here. And then we're going to add the skirt of the mushroom, that little frilly bit around the top. There's a magpie. I've got a lot to say right now. So now I'm going to take this tool here. I'm just going to tack these bits. I'm going to smush it into the other clay to secure it. And I'm just using a bit of Vaseline on my tool so that it doesn't stick to my tool as I'm doing this. Really kind of push it in to make sure you have good adherence. Okay, that should be good. Now we can start playing around with this. Get out of here. Okay, so I've got a lot of extra clay and I kind of like it on that side, but on this side I'm finding that it's a bit too much. So I'm going to take some of it off. Okay, I'm finding it. That's pretty satisfying. Maybe add some little lines just coming from that side down. Okay. It's gotten windy out. And I might add some little lines here just for texture as well. And with the other two projects that I did, the ones that are painted, I looked at images of actual mushrooms and I tried to replicate as best I could. With this one, kind of just winging it. It's fun to do both. Trying to replicate something will build up your skills, but this is good for your creativity. Alright, now that one is ready to be tacked down. In order to do that, we're going to need some more clay. And to start it, I'm just going to kind of connect where the mushroom ends and the plate begins. Make sure you're using enough to support it so that it doesn't fall down. There we go. And again, we're just going to make sure that the clay has good contact with everything. Okay. Now I have quite a bit of excess clay here. That's okay. And kind of just slice off the parts that you don't need. There we go. We're just going to smooth that out again. If you're doing this and you're finding that it's wanting to tip over to one side or the other, you can place something up against it to kind of rest it there. And then remove it later when it's cured. I would suggest something that's plastic. And the reason for that is that the epoxy sculpt does not adhere very well to plastic at all. Okay, so I will now go and add the textures and attach the other mushrooms. And then we can do the moss around the bottom. Okay, so they are all attached. And they do kind of want to flop over a little bit. So when I get inside, I'm going to prop them up with something as they cure so that they don't completely fall over. Once the clay is cured, it'll be fine, it'll be quite solid. And as you can see, my glove broke and my thumb is now poking out. So I'm gonna do 3 different kinds of textures on the bottom, like I did with this one. I'm gonna do a mossy texture, and then this kind of texture here in the yellow, and then we'll do some of these weird little tube-like textures. So for the mossy texture, I'm going to take a bit of my clay. I'm going to push it through this drain strainer. First I'm going to get a little bit of Vaseline on each side so that it releases a little bit easier. And then I'm literally just going to push it through. There we go. And then I'm going to take my X-Acto and I'm going to just scrape a little bit off, like that. And then I'm just going to gently place it and super gently push it in places so that it adheres. Just gonna pick random spots and add it in. Just places where I think it'll look good after. Okay. And then next we're going to do some of the little tubular ones. So for this, I have this little dotting type tool. I'm going to take just a little bit of clay and roll it in between my fingers to make like a tube. And then I'm going to poke a hole in it. Kind of just shape it a bit. And then as you can see here, I didn't go through the other end. I want some clay at the bottom there so that I can smush it into place. That. And then the last texture, just take off a small bit of clay and roll it into a ball and then smush it into a circle, and then take that tiny circle and kind of fold it in on itself like a little sandwich, and then press that sandwich down onto the clay. accidentally cut that sandwich in half. It's okay. Okay, so you get the general idea of that. I'm gonna finish that up and then I will show you what that looks like in the end. And that's gonna be it for today. Okay, so all my sculpting and all of my little details are done. Just have to let it cure and then I can paint it. I may do a video on the painting, I may not. Painting is quite boring and it takes me a really long time. I was painting these other two and it took me literally all day yesterday. From like 10 in the morning until 8 p.m. So maybe we'll just do a short painting video. Alright, thank you for joining me. Have a really good day, guys.